I cannot dare to contest an election because I don't have that much money. Today, money is flowing like water during elections. And the more money the party is spending, that party is getting elected. So it's done through welfare schemes also, and it's done also under the table and through wrong means. In many states, we had these local self-body elections. And I couldn't see the women, their pictures on the posters of the campaign. The faces of their husbands or brothers or fathers were there, but if the women were not even there on the posters, so how will they function independently?
Hello everyone and welcome to Sansad Flicks, where we discuss all things Parliament. Today we have been joined by Dr. Fauzia Khan. Dr. Khan wears many hats. She is an educationist, an institution builder, a politician and a tireless advocate for those whose voices rarely reach the corridors of power. A member of the Rajya Sabha representing Maharashtra under the Nationalist Congress Party with Sharad Chandra Pawar, her tenure has recently ended on the 2nd of April. She continues to serve as the national president of the NCP Women's Wing. Now, her political journey spans over 25 years and is anything but ordinary. She served 2 terms in the Maharashtra Legislative Council between 2002 and 14 and as Minister of State in the Maharashtra government, holding portfolios ranging from school education and women and child development to health and public works. Now, in 2009, she made history as the first Muslim woman to serve as a minister in the Maharashtra government. Elected to the Rajya Sabha in 2020, her parliamentary record over 6 years is, by any measure, remarkable. The Sansad Ratna Award, which recognizes India's top performing parliamentarians, came to her twice in 2022 and 2023. With her Rajya Sabha tenure now concluded, we sit down with Dr. Khan to talk about her journey, her fights, and what she makes of the India that she has spent 3 decades trying to change. Dr. Khan, welcome. Dr. Khan, we'll start with our first question, a little bit about your personal life. You grew up in Aurangabad, where you were educated in a convent school and went to get an MA and an MPhil in English. And then you ended up in the rough and tough area of Indian politics. Now, how much of this transition where you became a politician, how do you feel things have changed, and did you always feel like there was a politician in you somewhere along the line?
Well, this is about my personal journey. And as you rightly said, that I was born and brought up in Aurangabad, and then I qualified till MPhil in my favorite subject of English literature. And after I got married, I started living in Parbhani. I got children there. And when I had children who became 3-year-olds, I realized that they don't have proper education facility there. So I had to send my son to Aurangabad to live with my parents for a couple of years, which was quite painful. And then one day my husband told me, why don't you start your own school if you want to keep your son with you? So you'll spend your time fruitfully also, and your son also could be with you. So this idea clicked and I started a small school. And in that small school, it suddenly took off. And there was so much demand that we had to close down admissions and things in the beginning. And then after that, it grew. And we managed to maintain quality. Then we got affiliation from CBSE. Then I started more institutions. Then I started D.Ed and B.Ed and food technology and various educational institutions. And that became my sphere of work. And I was very passionate about that work. All the time for education, I would keep struggling and trying to educate people around. So I had a name in education at that time in that small town. But one day, Sharad Chandraji Pawar's party, the district president of Parbhani, he approached me saying that we have municipal council elections and we have got reservation for women as the president of the municipal council. So since you have got some reputation in Parbhani, can you contest this election? this was quite shocking because I never had even imagined that I could enter this field of politics. I said, no, this is not my cup of tea, because I found that, whatever I'd heard about politics, it's a dirty game and all that. I said, no, I can't come into that. So I said, no, he went away, but they kept on persuading. And finally, my family also got together and started convincing me. They said, why don't you do this work? It's not as you are imagining. Whatever you are doing in a small way, you can do in a big way there. So then I got ready, and finally I contested that election. So at that time, my party was nowhere. The symbol also was not known to people. So then in that 10-day campaign, it was literally my birth to 10 days. And in those 10 days, very systematically, we campaigned and everything. I went house to house and people already knew me. So I could manage to get second position. Actually, I was the winning candidate according to all estimates. But then finally, the reality that some communal agenda came up, and then I lost by 2,000 to 3,000 votes. So after that, I said, no, okay, whatever has gone is gone. We lost some money, but okay, we'll continue with our work. And I just stayed at home doing nothing. I mean, not political work. So then one day, after a couple of months, I got a call from Sharad Pawar himself. So he said, ma'am, we want to nominate you to the Legislative Council. We have observed your campaigning and everything, and I think you would be good with a person working with us. I said, sir, but I don't know anything about politics. What will I do in Legislative Council and how will I work? He said, you don't worry about that. You should only be ready to travel. If you are ready to travel, you can say yes, then we'll take it forward. So I said, okay, I'll join the Legislative Council. And then I said, phone to aaya, it was over. After, say, about a week, I thought this was just a phone call and it's nothing. But then one day I got another phone call, and then he said, come over to Mumbai, come and meet me. I hadn't met him till that time. So he said, come and meet me. I said, sir, do I have to come to Mumbai to meet you? He said, you have become member of Legislative Council. Won't you come to meet me also? So then I went and met him for the first time. And he told me that, see, we have nominated you as a member from the minority community and as an educationist. So you are a governor's nominee to the Maharashtra Legislative Council. You start working, he said, you be silent for a few months. Just see, observe what's going on. And then you can start speaking once you understand what it is. I said, okay, and then I started observing, but just after 2-3 days only, I felt like speaking. And I started speaking. And then I took off. And then during that tenure, I got the best award for the best legislator from the President of India. And I was nominated again a second time. Then I was taken to the cabinet also. And this is how it grew.
So we'll get to more on how your public life has evolved with time. So ma'am, in 2009, you became the first Muslim woman to hold a ministerial post, and you held 7 portfolios. 8 portfolios, so sorry. And that is a historic first in itself. So what did it actually feel like when you were walking into the cabinet room? I mean, this is a big deal. So,
initially I felt very proud. And after I was told that we are inducting you into the government, I said, now I'll be more in policy making. And I had almost, 25% of the portfolios that the government runs. So although I was MOS, I was the one who was talking on the floor of the house all the time. Because I had, I think, 3 ministries with the chief minister. And it was school education, health and family welfare, it was women and child development, it was minority development, cultural development. So all social sectors, I had. And the ministers also are very good, very cooperative. We learned together. And I used to write long notes on the files and all. So they would be saying that, ma'am, you write so much and you put a lot of thought to it and all. So they were happy with whatever I did in my role as MOS. And I got a lot of chance, a lot of opportunity to be answering on the floor of the house. So that time I was very happy that I made no mistake anywhere, because you can't afford to say something wrong. And for that you have to have lot of study. The briefing sessions only went on for so many hours during the session time. So that gave me a lot of rich experience.
Ma'am, we will talk a little bit more about your on-ground experience as well, given the fact that you did work in not just policy making, but also implementation with your work experience as a minister. But coming a little bit onto education, you do run multiple institutions, and you even donated land for the Maulana Azad National Urdu University. You've completed your PhD in 2016, and by then you were already a two-term MLC and a former minister. So you have focused a lot on education, not just for people, but for yourself as well. And ma'am, education, so it's not just a policy for you. It's almost biographical. But why? Why is it that this is the area that you chose to take?
I think education is the only route towards change, towards transformation. The more educated we get, the more educated the society becomes, the more aware, politically aware, awareness comes in various forms. You get employment, you get more cultured life, everything depends on education. To me, that's the most important, and I'm still very passionate about education, because not only education, it has to be qualitative education, because my area of interest mostly is the foundational learning, where, below 10 years of age, they say that 85% of intellectual development takes place. So your brain grows, your body grows, your social, emotional, everything, all aspects of development are very rapid during this period. You have got the ability to learn multiple languages. So at this age, you see that transformation happening in front of your eyes, and it gives you so much joy. So I also was, at that time, I was the secretary of Indian Institute of Pre-Primary Education. It was an association started by Anutai Wag and some educationists. So that was also very interesting. We took a lot of workshops all over the nation, and we tried to make sure that the government pays attention to this foundational learning. This foundational learning is the secret of good education, during later years. Because once you learn at that age, then in the later years, you become still more this. And my area of interest in PhD was linguistics. So it is the science of languages. I learnt linguistics, then I thought I must do my PhD, because unless I research properly on the subject, I'll not be able to become, more happier. It just was for my own joy. And then I finished my PhD. Simultaneously, I was running these institutions. I'm happy to say that all the institutions functioned with high quality, and now this has been associated with my name, high quality education. And I'm still passionate. Now, from the day I retired, I'm still now very excited to go back and look more into, I'll get more time to devote towards education work.
One of the other things that we saw we were researching about you, and we just wanted to make this interview a very rich experience. You are by far one of the best performing MPs by all metrics. So we saw that your parliamentary performance has been exceptional, a consistent 100% attendance. We also looked at the numbers, 576 questions, 21 private members bill, and this participation is well above the national average. So, but often the bills, the debates, not all of them get equal amount of media coverage. We also don't know how much of it gets taken up by the government, how much follow-ups, and what you get, tangible results that you get from a lot of the interventions that you do. So what keeps you going as a parliamentarian, as a policy maker in this? It's a very tough field. So
In Parliament, my experience has been very different. With all the kind of challenges that I faced, the major challenge that I faced was of the allotment of time to speak. Because in Parliament, you have the time allotted to the party, not to the member as such. So, the more members you have, the more time you get. So, I think this is a very ridiculous kind of arrangement because actually, according to me, parliamentary debate is for policy making, and opposition has a great role to play in this system of checks and balances. The opposition is plays the balancing role, plays the checks on the government. So we have to criticize the government. That's our duty. If we don't criticize the government and only sit there and say, yes, yes, whatever you are doing is right, so we are not fulfilling our duty. But what is expected is that the ruling side gets more time to speak. So they are speaking all the time and they are getting like more than, I don't know, 40% of the time they are getting, and they are just praising whatever the government is doing. So what is the point of this debate if we are just praising what we are doing? Our leadership is so good, our policies are so nice, we are doing so wonderfully well. For whom are we doing this? We have to discuss, debate so that our policies become more polished. And in the Rajya Sabha especially, it's called the cooling chamber. So this cooling chamber, you need to deliberate more. But I don't see this happening, unfortunately. So people like us who work, who are sincere, committed, we are working hard to research and go. And you people like former LAMPs and have been working with me. PR has been very generous sending us LAMP fellows who are so good, so brilliant. This youth comes, they research for us, they help us make our preparations. We go prepared and then we get 3 minutes to speak. So it's such a, frustration how to put the voice of your people, the concerns of your people, your areas, because we represent one whole state. And a large state like Maharashtra, I have to represent in 3 minutes, any topic. And if I ask a question, I get a response from the minister in a very defensive way. Instead of saying that, yes, ma'am, this suggestion is good, we should really consider this. The culture I found in Maharashtra back there is missing here somewhere. So instead of saying that, they get defensive and they say, you did like this, your party was like that, in 1947 you did this. So I don't think this is very healthy for a democracy and for our parliamentary functioning as such. But unfortunately, this is happening.
Ma'am, I also remember one of your interventions was on how a lot of MPs who are single party MPs and they also tend to represent a single state.
Absolutely, yeah.
So then that the amount of time that they also get, it almost seems very unequal and imbalanced.
And among that, I think there was an article that we wrote, and in that article we mentioned how much time women get to speak actually. Women who represent in parliament today are hardly 13.4%. And of that also, how much time actually the women are participating in discussions on important bills that even matter so much to them. So when we researched on that, we found that the time women speak is hardly anything. It's so much less than what men speak. And I think while we are thinking about having more women to represent in parliament, we should increase the time that women are allotted to speak in parliament. If even that is denied to them, how can the voice of women, who are 50% of the population, be brought to the floor of the parliament? And if it doesn't, then it's not pure justice.
We will dissect this a lot more furthermore in the interview. Right now, just want to understand a little. You mentioned that the culture is a little different back in during the Maharashtra, your experience in Maharashtra compared to Parliament. You were also the minister there. You were ministers in education and health, ma'am. As a minister where you worked in these areas, what was your on-ground experience like? While you were doing policy implementation, because right now what you're doing is a lot of policy making, a lot of legislative business, but you have so much of ground experience, and then you also get to work on policy making and implementation there. So can you also talk a little bit about the difference in these experiences?
Yeah, I found that very much different. In Maharashtra, when we got stuck on some issue during some debate, it would be adjourned for some time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We would get back into the chamber of the speaker, and then we would talk about it with the opposition members, then come to a consensus, then come back to the floor of the assembly, and then start discussion again. So it was more cordial, it was more friendly, and we overcame so many differences in that way. And I think it helped us a lot in policy making. Because if you get stuck with some difference of opinion, then you are, very adamant on your stand, and the opposition is adamant on their stand. It doesn't help. And what I feel is now we are more focused, both in Parliament, the opposition and the government, they are more focused on optics rather than real contribution. So because there is a live telecast and, we want to reach the people, so everything has become like election centered. Like we want to, it's become like a campaigning place. So I think this is very, very unhealthy for democracy. And this is the difference I see. The culture was not like this. I don't know whether it was here in Parliament, the earlier system was like this or not. But in Maharashtra, it wasn't like this at all. It was very entirely different.
Ma'am, we'll talk a little bit about public perception now that it's up. People look at MPs in a very different way, right? The lens through which they see MPs. They also point out, often this comes up in the news as well, the bungalows, the salaries, the allowances, the travel, and there's a consistent public perception about what the MPs get, right? You have lived this life for 6 years. Is it justified or is it a little excessive? Can you paint the picture from your perspective? I have an addition to this question. MP offices, they also need a lot of support given the amount of work that they have to do. They actually, your MPs get a PA and some support staff, but you need someone to help you with research, someone with constituency projects, etc. So while there is one side that says that you get a lot of facilities and a lot of allowances from the government, there's also the other side where MPs also need a lot of support in discharging their duties. So can you also highlight a little bit?
Yeah, I think this perspective is not seen by the public as such, because the amount of movement, the travel, the research, help that you need, assistance, then you need assistance of people at home. You need somebody to cook the food, you need somebody to look after other things and all that. So on the whole, it becomes a lot of expense for us. So whatever the government is assisting is only part, a small part. You have to spend much more on it. And then MPs who do not have some other big sources of income, like me, for instance, I don't have anything else like which can support me. I have to sacrifice some of my personal needs and give inputs here. So these perspectives that are formed by people, the perceptions are not very well grounded. They are biased a little bit, because there are some of us may be very, very wealthy. We may be having got a lot of background, our own businesses, but some of us are also only doing political work and only spending all our time here. So we don't have time to make our own earning also back home, and we are also spending so much. So this is not seen in the right balance by people. I think this they need to be aware about.
Ma'am, even in the US, so there are two different systems. In the UK, the government provides parliamentary research. They provide staff as well. They not just PA, but also like proper research staff to the MPs. In the US, a certain amount of fund is allocated to the senator through the Senate, where they get money to set up their office, to conduct these town halls and interact with people from the constituency. So a lot of facilitation is given to discharge these duties, which I feel like is a little lacking when we...
Absolutely, it's lacking, and then people use different, wrong means to achieve them, because we have to take programs, we have to be all the time, we are talking to the public. When we go home also, we don't get time to rest because people are coming to meet. And unless we meet people all the time, how will we know the ground realities? We have to go, we have to visit those places, we have to see their ground conditions in every way. And people don't know what they should come for, to an MP, to a legislator, or to the corporation, corporator, or whatever. People come to us with various problems. Like as a woman, I have seen that they come to me with family quarrels, husband and wife issues, children's issues, cases that are filed against them, health issues. So many different diverse issues are there. People keep coming and meeting us. So I need assistance there. I need assistance in setting up my office. I need people there to keep track of everybody's needs that come to me. If somebody asks me, okay, so and so met with an accident, you have to make a call. So I need, while I'm talking to somebody else and managing time, I need another person to make that call for me and give me. So there is so much of assistance that is needed in every little thing, that there is no comparison about the assistance that we get from the government. It's very, very small in comparison to the work that we are doing, if we are doing it sincerely.
So ma'am, we'll just come to, you pointed out if we're doing it sincerely. So wanted to talk to you a little bit about over these 6 years of your experience, having been in the Rajya Sabha, as you said, is the cooling chamber, it's the house of deliberation, it's the house of review and of experience. How do you think parliamentary democracy has evolved within these 6 years of having seen it evolve, given the current government as well? You can talk, we can focus on parliamentary procedure, the time allotted, or the mic, there's also a lot of... how do you think in these 6 years this has evolved?
Yes, in this 6 years, I don't think we have evolved much, but we have deteriorated to some extent. Because initially when I came, the culture was still a little more healthier. But as time is passing, we see censorship. We see opposition parties also making, protests for very flimsy things sometimes. And we see the government also, cameras are censored, because earlier we used to see ourselves on the camera in the parliament. Today our faces are not seen. Even when we speak, it's the speaker or the chairman who is mostly visible on the camera, and we are visible less. The ruling side, when they applaud, that is shown more, and when we say no, we are not agreeing with this, that is not shown on camera. And sometimes when even the LOP is speaking, the leader of opposition is speaking, the mic is muted. If it's not very convenient for the government, it is cut off. So we see that we don't see a very unbiased kind of working on the person on the seat there, who has to be very unbiased. In fact, in certain countries, the chairman or the speaker doesn't belong to any political party, and that's how it should be. We should have at least the deputy speaker and the deputy chairman from the opposition. But this is not happening. This is a big difference here. We don't even have a deputy speaker in Lok Sabha today. So just imagine that when you are sitting on the seat of justice, there we don't have a voice. Even the election commission bill that came up, we removed the chief justice from there, and it's only the prime minister and one cabinet minister and the leader of opposition. So ultimately, selection of election commissioner also is biased now, because no matter what the LOP says, there are 2 people from the government, so obviously their opinion will overrule it. So such changes are, not very healthy for democracy. Unfortunately, it's happening. And there are so many other instances I can cite, but due to shortage of time, I don't think I'll be able to tell this. But even the legislation that is passed is sometimes with, those focused intention on election. The schemes are, implemented at the just beginning of the election. The money is deposited into the bank accounts of women. It has been happening in all the states that welfare schemes, give welfare schemes, it's very nice. But why during the election, even after the code of conduct is imposed, we are allotting this welfare money to them in their banks? So I think all this is not justified. Many things together ultimately make it that democracy is weakening. The constitution is being, diluted. The tenets of the constitution are not stronger than what they should become. In fact, they are weakening, I feel.
Ma'am, you did speak of women-centric policies that the government is bringing, whether that is election-oriented or otherwise. We want to focus a lot more on women and women's reservation as well now. It is in the discussion a lot. There are strong reports of the fact that the government will again bring in a special session, the way they did originally for the women's reservation bill, to bring in a few amendments. So this is extremely important and timely for us to take this up. I remember in one of the interviews you said, ma'am, that if you look across the canvas, women in the Lok Sabha and the assemblies, they mostly come from a political background. For a woman with no political background, it is almost impossible to be in politics.
Like me.
Unless you're nominated, yes, ma'am. And this is the grim reality. With a few exceptions in the upper party, in the upper ranks of the party, like this, we have Mamata Banerjee, we also have the late Tamil Nadu CM Ms. Jayalalitha. So, ma'am, do you see things changing anytime in the near future, or do you already see some change happening for the women who are now, they want to join politics, or maybe even the women who are already in politics and they are looking at engaging more in, turning into parliamentary politics?
Unfortunately, I don't see any progress here. It's a matter of social mindset, actually. So no matter what we say, we may be saying that, oh, our political party wants to give reservation or quota to the women, but actually the heart of the hearts, it is not the same. So that is why this bill lingered in Parliament for years, and for some excuse or the other, it was not passed. And even when it was passed, it was, a kind of illusion only, with these two conditions which were attached to it, that there should be census delimitation and some more stringent resolutions of all the states and all that. So with all that, it was held that unless these conditions are fulfilled, we cannot implement. But the pomp and the celebration and the way it was said, the historic legislation in 2023, so everybody supported it. Obviously, nobody will disagree with it publicly. So everybody supported, but then it was still held back, these 3 years. Now we have election in 5 states. So now they say that, okay, now delimitation will remove, the census condition will remove. They don't have a set formula as yet. They have called us for meetings, but they have called small parties. They haven't called the bigger parties of the opposition. So all this looks very suspicious. Why it's happening like that? Why can't we come clean and call everybody at the same time and give us a formula? Look, this is the formula. And on this formula, let's debate properly. And then we'll come up with the amendment of the amendment that we made. Why did we need the amendment at all? Initially, why did we want to fool the country? Women at that time felt, oh, what a historic legislation. But 3 years have gone. So many elections have gone. So we didn't give women reservation. And now we are saying, okay, we'll give it. But this is also being done in a way which is not very transparent. And it could have been done in this session, in the ongoing budget session, but it didn't happen. And now they say we'll call a special session for it. So all this looks very weird. Why is it not being done in a very transparent way where everybody, all the oppositions are called together, all parties, and they give us a format. See, these are the changes that we think we'll bring. We need not have delimitation. We need not have census. We'll base it on the 2011 census. And then we'll have, say, it was 543 seats in Lok Sabha. It will now become 816. So almost 243 or something seats will go to women now. So they have a formula. This is all hearsay. There's no set record which is coming in front of us, some framework that we are thinking of this. Now give your opinion on this. Although we've been, on streets, in big functions, in legislature, in parliament, we have been all screaming, implement the women's reservation bill. Why isn't it implemented? And now why, when there are 5 states going for election, why now? So it looks very, very fishy.
The uncertainty of it is definitely, it makes us also question what the future of the women's reservation bill might look like. And a lot of, it's shrouded in so much, mystery, because we even us as the public, we have no idea about when it might get. It's the legislative complexity of the bill itself. Number one, the dependency on the delimitation and the census and all of that, the state's resolution. Number 2, but also the fact that now, because of the elections, they're bringing in these changes, which people from the outside, we have no clue about what is happening.
We have no clue.
And the MPs also seem to not. So, ma'am, the lack of even putting a number on it, the fact that we don't know ki this is the year when it will get implemented, that also makes it very uncertain for us as women to know, what does the future look like. A lot of us women really do want to see more women in the parliament. 13% is very low compared to a lot of countries. A lot of developed countries, sure, but even developing countries, even African nations have more women.
I think we have more women even in Pakistan and Bangladesh. So it's time that we really brought in a change. But while we provide these reservations, I told you we should also provide a voice to women. It's not that they come in through political parties and then they are not given enough time to speak. So this formula also should change. Because actually, it's very funny that I may have some very urgent concern that I want to raise in parliament about women, about something very, very urgent. And then I have to wait for the ballot to be taking me. You mentioned that I got Sansad Ratna for 2 years. Why didn't I get the other years? And my record is the same. I have participated in more debates than I did earlier. That's because my questions are not balloted. That's because I don't get even one starred question in the whole session. And your record goes on balloted questions, not on what you're filing. We are filing all the questions on every issue that we get some time to speak, but we are not getting that time because we have to depend on a ballot for 0 hour, for special mention, for any question. So depending on a ballot is very, very funny. And how can that resolve urgent issues that we want to raise? Because we don't have a choice. We have to, otherwise our mouths are covered. We can't utter a word. They come with the rules. This is the rule. You can't say anything. So it's like not the freedom of expression that we expect in a parliament. It's not happening. At least I hope this voice is given to women. When there are more women, obviously there'll be more who can speak. And empathy, the males may give us empathy and sympathy, but actually what we go through is only we who know. Women know what women go through. So women's voices are very important, and wherever women have been given these voices, like Rwanda and other places in Nordic countries, in even Panchayat Raj, where you have women, you have seen changes there, because there is more focus on women's issues, where women are like drinking water, like security, like other bills are taken up more speedily, deliberated on with more sincerity. So all that is needed, and that's why these women have to come into the parliament. And also in Rajya Sabha and legislative councils, women should come in. This is not part of the bill that was passed, the act that is existing. Why not in the upper houses also? We should have equal number of women even here. Why not? 33% should be here also.
Yes, that is very important. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so you also have spoken about performative representation versus real representation. Are women in Indian politics treated as decision makers or as representatives? And I want to expand on this a little. There is a difference. You can still have 33% reservations for women, but are they in the room where strategies are being made, where floor strategy, party strategy that is being discussed, where the politics is being decided? Has that changed? Is it changing? Do you see it changing given the fact that now there is focus on bringing more women into the house?
I don't think. We have waited so many years, but this change I have not seen happening in society as a whole, and neither I have seen it in legislature nor in parliament. So women are not taken fully into confidence in the way they should be by political parties also, by in the government also, and in legislative roles also. So there are a lot of very intelligent bureaucrats. Look at the judiciary, how much representation we have in the judiciary, in the bureaucracy. Such intelligent people. Women have got special attributions. They have multitasking abilities. They can do so much. They can think wider, and they can do many things together. But still they are not taken into confidence the way they should be taken. Not anywhere. I'm not talking about any particular political party. We may have random one or two. One instance I want to cite here. We have a woman president of the nation. But when the women's reservation bill was passed and the new building of the parliament was inaugurated, she was not even invited there. She's the head of the parliament, constitutional head. She was not invited. So if the president is not given that importance, then what do we expect? Although for name's sake, president is the woman, a woman president. But then what about the powers? What about her role in other things? Actually, she's supposed to be the most powerful person in the country. But is it true? Do we really see that? No.
Wow, very strong sentiments. And ma'am, here I want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned how much women can do and what they bring to the table. You also mentioned women sarpanches. So, ma'am, you have even met and facilitated women sarpanches. These are educated women who are, running the gram panchayats very confidently. And so, you've actually seen on ground what happens when a woman is actually given the reins. Can you highlight a little bit more on that?
See, from our party, we used to have these programs with elected representatives very frequently. Supriya Suleji used to head that, and very good initiative it was. And it was so eye-opening to us when these elected representatives came. They were such highly educated women, and the way they talked independently, they had their own opinions. So it felt like, we are undergoing a transition. Although it must be slow, but very, very able, capable women are coming in. But at the same time, we have a large section of, women who are given reservation. Now they have 50% reservation in the local self-government, but only their men are working for them. So the Sarpanchpati problem, the proxy leadership problem is there. It is very much, part of our existence. Because recently, just about 2 months back, I think we had elections in Maharashtra. In many states, we had these local self-body elections. And I couldn't see the women, their pictures on the posters of the campaign. The faces of their husbands or brothers or fathers were there, But if the women were not even there on the posters, so how will they function independently? So this change has to come in. This proxy business should stop. We need big legislation on this. Something very strict has to be done. So not only passing this bill and then keeping the proxy business going on, this won't do. We need to make women really independent, and we have a lot of capable women. In large numbers, we have women available everywhere. But one thing I must tell you, getting elected is no small deal, It's not cakewalk. You need a lot of money. I cannot dare to contest an election because I don't have that much money. Today, money is flowing like water during elections. And the more money the party is spending, that party is getting elected. So it's done through welfare schemes also, and it's done also under the table and through wrong means. So how can women come in to compete all that? Capable women cannot come in like that. So we'll have again women from political backgrounds only coming in, wives and sisters and mothers who will come and represent. We don't want that picture. We want a picture where women can contest. So fair elections are very, very important. And unless elections are fair and this money is taken into control, which is not happening in the nation, I have seen this with my own eyes, how much money we spend in elections. And the police is silent, everybody is silent, everybody knows, but everybody keeps quiet.
A lot on election, like why women struggle to enter elections, even get elected. The journey is long. Ma'am, in this context, do you think that there is a specific women's politics? And by this I mean a different set of priorities for women MPs which the male MPs may miss. And by this I mean not just gender issues, but other allied issues which maybe the male MPs don't focus on, which is a perspective that women bring. Is there are there any areas which you think which women would end up focusing a lot more on, given the current status of society in India as well?
See, we have gender issues, gender ratio. Gender ratio issues, we have drinking water issues, we have education issues, we have health issues. It affects the male simultaneously as women, even communication in every way. You take up the digital expansion now that is happening. How much are women benefiting and how much are males benefiting? How many women have mobiles in the villages? If you see that, there have been studies on it. Very few women possess their own mobile phones. So how will they make digital use? How will they transact for money? We are expanding digitally, but women are deprived. So there are every sector, women's point of view has to come. That's why during our government, the UPA government, we brought in gender budgeting in 2005. And that gender budgeting is so important. Unfortunately, it was not implemented the way it should be. In gender budgeting, I think the analysis, the impact it is giving on women is the core of it. But we don't make any impact analysis of whatever gender lens we are applying to all budgets. Although the ministries have expanded, although the money is expanded, but we don't see that lens truly operating in the way it should be. So this is one of the things which is, across sectors, across everyone. If you don't have electricity, who is affected more? At home, because the woman is working at home, she has to use the electrical appliances and all more. If the child is sick, if the family member is sick, who's more affected? If the road is not proper, she has to go for delivery or she has to go to the hospital, who's more affected? If males are affected, females are also affected. And I think females are affected more. That's why when they come in, they bring in that perspective, and that's important.
This is why the bill is important. Yes. And ma'am, the bill is back in spotlight. even if, now there's another problem, even if women get the 33% reservation, which is still not enough, we are 50% of the population, but there is also the reserved seats problem and the shuffling post delimitation, lot of this. It also affects, relationship with the constituency, building, and also accountability. There's a lot of other issues that are involved given the legislature and that. So, ma'am, overall, I just want to understand, given the bill, what are your pain points with the bill? What are the maybe solutions, or what are you hoping happens from the upcoming special session?
See, first of all, this bill lingered because they wanted reservations for SC, ST, OBC, etc. And they felt that it should be given as it is given to the general category. And it was so simple, because this is only, division of the male and the female. But reservations across both had to be the same. Whatever exists for general category should have been for this. But it was made so complicated. It was not needed, because you do need representation of the weaker section. You do need voices of people who are deprived, who are, the tribals, the other sections, even the minorities, people who are suffering because they are below poverty, because they are the ones who are doing the most menial jobs, scavengers, things like this. Why shouldn't they be getting reservation? But this lingered. I told you this was only an excuse to delay the bill. But even now, I think there are certain sections left out which should come in. Everybody should get a voice when women are there. Women means across all sections of society. And as I said earlier, that they should be also representing in Rajya Sabha and the legislative councils in the upper houses as well. So these are a few points which should be included in the amendments at this time, if possible.
So, ma'am, the government did announce the census. They have said that they're going to start the process of preparing for the census. If all goes to plan, we'll find out after this special session. But if all goes to according to plan, what do you want to say to the women who will walk into that reserved seat? I mean, there's a long time to that happening, but what do you want to say to them? The one who will benefit from everything that you as a generation have fought for a long time.
I think I don't have to say much to the women, because women already have a heart, a mother's heart. And when in a family a mother is there, she cares for everybody. So I will just say, become mothers and come. Bring your mother's heart to the parliament. Bring your mother's heart to the legislative assemblies, because that is what is lacking. You may have the intellectualism, but you don't have that sentiment, the emotion. So when the mother's emotion comes along with the father, who is the other side of the family, it is exactly like the family. So this family structure, if it comes into leadership roles, it's going to help a lot. And woman is already, she has a lot of assets in her. So not much has to be said. If she really uses her maternal instincts, I think everything will come together.
And ma'am, across, we'll just, this is one of our final questions, and this is something we ask a lot of our guests. Across, these 25 years of your experience as a politician, as a parliamentarian, as a minister, what is, two things, what is something that you would call your achievement, your biggest achievement, the thing that you're most proud of, and then also maybe a little bit on, something that you wish you could have done, maybe something, maybe a regret, or something that, you wish happened while you were still.
What I really wish should have happened and should be happening is that, one thing a woman has to face is immediate attack on her character, because she is the most vulnerable there. So that decency, dignity, this a woman must maintain. And for her to maintain all that in the political sphere is not easy. but she will have to do it, because once women come here, they must show that they are courageous, they are strong, and they don't fall victim for their ambitions to anything which is not right, and still they courageously come on and work for other women. I think this is what is needed, and I regret that this is not happening. It's not happening. Women also make allegations against women, and if a woman doesn't have any weakness, this is the only thing that they attack on, which is not right. Damaging somebody's reputation, damaging somebody's life is a great threat, and this is a great fear also for good women. Women from good families, they hesitate to come here because they feel that this is a big threat to them. So I wish this can change. I wish I could have helped in changing this, and I'll still be struggling for this to happen all my life.
Ma'am, a big achievement, something that you're proud of.
I am very, very proud of the respect and the love I have earned from everybody. I think I have really earned it. When I left the parliament, everyone was, the marshals, the attendants, the officers, the other MPs, colleagues, everybody was telling me the same thing. Okay, ma'am, you were very dignified, you talked very nicely in a balanced way. I think whatever, I may not have earned much wealth in monetary terms, but this is the greatest earning that I'm taking back with me. All those beautiful words which I heard from everybody around me.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Khan, for joining us, for shedding light on the condition of women, not just women, but on how parliamentary democracy is evolving and where you see it going as well. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Garima, and you are watching Sansad Flix.
And thank you very much for having invited me. Thank you.